Gonna do a new one. Okay. I know Bookworm's like resting in her room, but where's that dummy armor and techie? They got wrapped up in something. Don't worry about them. Apart from that, this should be everyone. The detectives gather in the living room as per my request. There's no going back now.
Will you be alright on your own? I can offer my assistance if need be.
It's fine. Solving the case is my responsibility.
You've matured so much, I can hardly recognize you. Best of luck, Watto. I'll sit this one out as much as possible.
With that, Holmes moves away from me. I give her my thanks and my hat. Now all that's left is to get this done. It's up to me to reverse this gruesome tragedy. Thanks for coming, everyone. I've gathered you all here to reveal the truth of Mystic's so-called Phantom Killer.
So, who is it? Is there really some kind of ghost inside the manor?
Keep calm, Dolful. It's true this case is baffling in more ways than one. But as it turns out, there were no phantoms involved. Rather, the murderer was a regular human, one with decidedly ill intent.
I am well aware there were no phantoms involved. Cease this half-witted nonsense at once. What's paramount is that we determine how the culprit poisoned Mystic and close the door without being captured on film. Naturally, I have expertly deduced that the deed was done using the flower vase. However, I've yet to understand how the door was shut.
The method was quite simple, actually. There wasn't any need to shut it manually, because the door closes on its own. However, something was needed to temporarily prop it open, something quite familiar to us.
Hmm? What are you going on about? Explain it in nobleman's terms, if you please.
The culprit needed something to act as a doorstop. In order to get this item, they decided to... They ransacked... Well, I mean, not exactly making it difficult for them. They decided to ransack the fridge. Doing so is vital to make this trick work.
Incompetence on the right track. I didn't catch it myself, but the culprit ransacking the fridge served an important goal. Starving us out, right? I mean, what else could it be?
No, if that was their intention, they would have done this a long time ago. With the addition of security cameras, it'd be too risky to bother sabotaging our food supply. The culprit had an entirely different motive.
You're saying that, but what the hell are you getting at? Why hit the fridge if it wasn't about the grub? It was to divert our attention elsewhere. What the culprit was truly after was ice. Ice? What for?
Because the culprit needed something solid. Something that, over time, would disappear. Oh, that makes sense. There's only one thing the ice could have been used for. So that when the ice melted, the door would shut.
Yeah.
That's right, the ice was used as a substitute doorstop.
A doorstop? You mean like that little thingamajig in the trap room?
Yep, if you'll recall, we placed a little wooden block there yesterday to keep the door from closing and setting off the trap. On camera, it seemed as if the doorstop had somehow been removed at the time of the crime, but that's not entirely true. See, the culprit had already swapped out that wooden block and replaced it with ice.
How could you tell? Sure, it was damp near the doorway. How could one make such a distinction with all the blood spray?
It was all thanks to the security camera. Look closely at the feet of the trap room. Right before the crime, you'll notice a reflection near the bottom of the door. The ice had likely begun to melt into a puddle. That's what clued me into the fact that the doorstop had been replaced. By swapping the doorstop with ice, it would inevitably melt over time, eventually causing the door to close shut. I suspect the culprit used a thermos of some kind in order to transport the ice. But ice doesn't take long to melt, even in a thermos, so the culprit had to trash the fridge moment before the crime.
A solid theory. I'm inclined to agree. While examining the fridge after it had been ransacked, I noticed something odd about the ice tray. There should have been plenty of water left by the melted ice, but the lack thereof suggests that the tray was empty prior to its removal. Goodness, you examined the refrigerator's contents after they had been so thoroughly strewn about? What an impressive effort. Compared to my daily grind, it was nothing. I'd consider this a specialty of mine, frankly.
One sec, would the door really close on its own if the stopper was, gone? I'm staying on the second floor, same as the trap room, but my door totally doesn't do that. Yeah, that struck me as odd too. But that was actually another simple trick designed to throw us off. Again? But how? The culprit utilized subtle misdirection. You see, what they did was... for the door to close automatically. That's right. That's right. I think I did notice that. They tweaked the second floor doors to make them harder to move, assuming we'd write it off as the manor being poorly built. Doleful, you spent a while examining the doorway, so I'm sure you noticed, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that the doors were poorly constructed. The hinges that allowed them to open and close had been bent. That's why they require extra force to move.
They messed up the hinges? Like, what even? Why go through all that effort just to make the doors hard to open? It'll be faster to show you in person. Let's go examine the trap room upstairs. We head to the trap room, just as I had requested. The door has been repaired.
The door's been fixed? But why? I see. So this is what Armor and Techie have been up to.
Yeah, I asked them to do some repairs. The hinges are properly aligned too. That is to say, they aren't crooked at all, unlike the ones on the rest of this floor. 'Twas as Lady Bookworm said, this door shared the same dimensions as those of the guest rooms. Right, earlier I asked these two to take a door from another room and reattach it here. Of course its hinges were bent, as Doleful pointed out, so I had Techie repair it. Now it should work as originally intended. The east-facing entrance is open, so we'll be alright if we close this one. Downtown, could you take your hand off the door, please? Sure. Downtown gingerly removes her hand, and then... the door begins to shut, just as we had seen on camera earlier.
What on earth?
From the very start, the doors to the second floor were all designed to shut on their own.
I understand that much, but how did we manage to overlook that such a simple fact?
It is odd. No matter how bent the hinges on the other rooms are, you would think we'd have noticed that the doors are self-closing. That's exactly it. That sense that something was off is the entire crux of this mystery. How do you mean? The culprit utilized a number of subtle psychological suggestions to divert our attention from their little trick. First, they cited shoddy workmanship as the reason the second floor doors were so difficult to open. which caused us to gloss over the actual details. After we discovered the trap in the room, they casually had a doorstop repaired, obfuscating the fact that the door closed on its own. Then, after the deed was done, they had the door broken down, effectively hiding the evidence. Oh, this is really giving it away if you remember what happened last time and also have been paying attention. Well, all the while, the culprit has continuously influenced our actions and perception through everyday conversation. Thinking back, each comment they made had entirely manipulated our train of logic. We've been playing into the hands of this alleged phantom, a person who hid their murderous intent behind an easygoing facade. It's the very same individual who blamed the doors on shoddy construction, who suggested both the doorstop and for us to break the door open. The culprit could only be one person. Senior detective, clearly.
Oh, definitely. He came back from the dead for revenge. He's like, you fuckers didn't save me.
Now, I know the rest of all of this was a while ago, so I don't know how much you remember, but do you know who it is?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. 2 weeks is a long time, man. It's incompetent.
It was 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks. It's definitely...
We missed 2 weeks. Yeah, it's definitely us.
I'm thinking it is...
Mr. Detective, definitely.
Oh, of course. I'm thinking it's Workaholic. He loves giving himself more work, you know?
Yeah.
No, in all honesty, I kind of think it's this one, Renegade. That's why.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
All right.
It's not.
All right. It's Downtown.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That's what it is.
That was my second guess.
Downtown Detective, you're the Phantom Killer who murdered Mystic Detective. Lady Downtown, you indict her as your Mystic Slayer.
Yeah, nice try there, bub. You're as crap at investigating as I am. Come on, Downtown, tell him. Let him know he's blowing a whole bunch of hot air.
I mean, duh, that's so obvious. I've got the most F-tier reasoning skills here, and you legit think I'm the culprit? You're being way desperate to get a laugh. Like, sorry, the culprit used all that stuff I said against us, but you can't go pinning the blame on me because of that. Not cool, dude. Let me ask you, incompetent, are you really ready to treat someone like a killer just based on your own speculations? Downtown's stone cold gaze silences me on the spot. Now there's a look that could kill. Am I facing the genuine hostility of a murderer? Of someone willing to take the life of another? Of course, the culprit will be on edge. They're caught. And everything they've done up till now will have been for nothing. This is the reality of solving a murder case. It's essentially the same as a death sentence. I've always dreamed of being a detective, but I wasn't prepared to corner someone like this. My legs tremble as I nearly retract my accusation. But no, there's no way I can back down now. Plus, you blame me for suggesting we break down the door, but what choice was there? You actually think that means I did it? Like, get real. How about you mellow out and think up some other theories, okay? I'll even pitch in. I'm not retracting my accusation. I know you did it, Downtown. The things you said are only one factor. I didn't want to believe it either, so I tried considering every alternative. But the longer I turned it over in my head, the clearer it became that it could only be you. Jeez, just back off, dude. You want to point fingers? Then dig up some evidence and show us. But if all you're here to do is talk shit, why don't you go get a blog or something? Remember what Posh said? The poison used to kill Mystic was in the flower vase the whole time. Literally anyone could have put it there. So where's your proof I did it? Explain it in a way a dumb blonde like me can understand. Fine. I'll start with the murder weapon that was used on Mystic then. The poison Posh found in the broken vase was only meant to distract us. Remember, this is Mystic we're talking about. Someone as brilliant as him would have been on guard against any threats, yet he ignored it completely. Which means the broken vase was... The broken vase was just a red herring. It was intentionally placed there to throw us off the trail of how Mystic was actually poisoned.
I beg your pardon? Are you suggesting that I, the 5th highest ranking member of the DA, was misled by a red herring?
Yes.
It's just a smelly fucking fish. How dare you?
That's not what it is, but I believe that you think that.
How dare you?
Yes, I am. Okay. You grew flustered after becoming a suspect, making you a valuable asset in the murderer's scheme. Though, considering the nature of this case, perhaps the culprit anticipated that whoever wound up under suspicion would panic. After all, the contaminated water wouldn't have been capable of poisoning anyone, no matter how much time passed.
Come again? Have you forgotten the vases that are all placed throughout the manor? Many of them which were emitting toxic gas?
Upon analysis, I concluded that the neurotoxin in the water wasn't particularly volatile. In other words, it couldn't evaporate to fill a room. That's exactly it, Techie. The poison involved in this morning's fight between Armor and Rowdy differed from that found at the crime scene. When prepping the poison for the trap room, the culprit likely chose one with a low volatility, on purpose so they wouldn't have to inhale it. After discovering vases emitting toxic gas, it's only natural to think that the same poison was part of the crime. Our assumptions were used against us.
Then tell me, what method was used to assail Mystic? The cameras reveal nothing, do they not?
Actually, they did catch the murder weapon, because Downtown always has it with her.
Always? Beg pardon?
What? Dude, what are you even saying? Like, seriously, what? If you're so sure of yourself, then show us already. Show everyone the weapon I used to kill Mystic. The murder weapon used by Downtown was... What?
Her
Oh, I can
nails.
check evidence? What's the... Waffles' leg. Okay, security camera. I don't know if any of these necessarily help. I think that is the answer, though. Your nails. You're always painting them, and in this instance, your false nail served as the weapon. That was the Phantom Killer's trick. The color drained from Downtown's face in an instant. She must have been confident that she wouldn't get caught. As it so happened, this case was hiding yet another exceptional trick. Had we approached things in terms of how the weapon was concealed, we may not have realized the horrifying truth of what that weapon was. Downtown sharpened her nail into the shape of a knife, applied the neurotoxin to the tip like polish, then used it to stab Mystic. The poison used was batrachotoxin. Sure, that one. So potent it can kill via skin contact alone. Piercing flesh and hitting a vein would be more than enough. By incorporating the weapon into her personal style, Downtown managed to wield it in plain sight. Wait a second, Competent. Doing her nails would be part of her morning routine, no? If she applied the poison then, it would have surely dried by the time of the crime.
Plus, irrespective of how close-knit the DA may be, I don't think a seasoned veteran like Mystic would let his guard down so easily. How exactly did Downtown manage to stab Mystic with her nail?
Downtown utilized subtle manipulation methods on us over the past 3 days to answer both of your questions. Think back. Downtown typically did her nails during meals, right? We can all imagine her doing it. Which is why Mystic didn't think twice when she began applying the poison while standing right next to him. What? So when Downtown was painting her nails on camera... Correct. She wasn't reapplying any polish. She was coating her nail, the murder weapon, in poison. Nobody would ever assume the person right next to them was putting poison on their nails. But sometimes it's hardest to see what's right under your nose. Of course, we didn't notice her as she boldly prepared her scheme in plain sight. Remember, downtown has the tendency to get in our personal space, too. Hugging Mystic after his big discovery wouldn't be out of the character for her. He didn't seem the type to complain if her nails drew some blood, either. After that, she created the perfect alibi, waiting patiently from the living room as the poison took effect, the ice melted, and the door closed shut.
Just a moment. Let's suppose that downtown is indeed the culprit. Was my fleeing the scene of the crime a mere coincidence then? What would she have done had I not fled the trapper room?
Well, that's because Posh found a hole in my theory. Downtown's plan required Mystic to be alone. What would her plan have been if she couldn't separate him from everyone else? Still can't finish the job, I see. Renegade, who had been keeping silent this whole time, steps forward with a smug grin. I'll throw you a lifeline. Consider it a treat for working so hard.
Are you implying you know how the culprit managed to isolate Mystic?
Sure am. It was almost too easy. Renegade fishes a D-pad from his pocket, then waves it back and forth teasingly. Seeing this, Posh's face turns bright scarlet and she begins shouting at him in anger.
Why, you... Return my D-pad this instant! Don't tell me you were the one who stole it earlier, too!
Earlier? Posh quickly covers her mouth with regret. Her reaction makes it obvious that this wasn't the first time her D-pad had been stolen. Considering her usual hauteur, I can imagine it's difficult for her to admit such a thing. See, just swipe the gal's D-pad and she'll go running. It's simple as that. Mystic messaged our D-pads right before dying, yeah? Just imagine how flustered she'd feel after realizing hers had suddenly gone missing. She bolted out of the trap room to go searching for it. I hate to admit it, but Posh's rueful expression proves that Renegade's theory is spot on. Her actions had been manipulated, as had everything. Like Incompetent's been saying, with the right touch, you can wrap anyone around your finger. Easy peasy for a smooth talker like Downtown. I'm on board with your train of thought here, Incompetent, but I'd prefer to just enjoy the ride. You can take care of the sweet nothings. True to his word, Renegade steps back. I turn to address Downtown once again. This time I'll definitely get her to confess. If you have any counter-arguments, Downtown, go on and say them. You've been a huge help to me ever since we came to this island. Personally, I would love for my theory to be disproven. Please, I only want you to be honest with us. So, like, where's your evidence? Poison nail polish? You should try getting into creative writing. Too bad it's just a waste of energy if you got nothing to back it up. You keep going on about this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm sick of you and your crazy talk. You want to do me like this? Then show some proof. How about you come take a look at my nails? If you got it all figured out, there should still be trace poison left over, right? No, there wouldn't, actually. Batrachotoxin is extremely lethal. False nails or not, keeping it on your person for hours would be too great of a risk. Then you've got zero evidence. God, you really are delusional. Way to grasp those straws, bro. Actually, I can prove that you managed to dispose of the murder weapon. Your luck ran dry when you bumped into me when I exited the shower, before you were able to destroy the evidence. Downtown was hurrying somewhere to dispose of the poison. She was headed to... Yeah, remember when she bumped into us and was like, hey, I need a shit, please leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nope, that's not what that was.
Oh my.
After administering the neurotoxin on Mystic, you rush to the toilet to flush your nail. and the poison on it down the drain. That's why a nail was missing on your index finger when you returned to the living room. Ugh. I didn't think much of it at the time, but bumping into and speaking with me took away your chance to apply a new nail. You originally planned to do so in the bathroom, but since your alibi hinged on you watching the footage, you left right after flushing the nail. Analysis confirmed traces of batrachotoxin in the toilet water. There's no question our mischievous little phantom is to blame. Here to explain yourself, downtown? I didn't... Huh? I said I didn't take my nail off, okay? Quit dogpiling on me already. Did anyone besides incompetent prove that I did? Well, anyone? She turns to Armor, but he shakes his head vigorously. I do apologize. My memory is somewhat hazy. See, you're the only witness, incompetent. You could just make up whatever false accusations you wanted. Do the cameras show me missing a nail? No. Then you seriously need to check yourself. Downtown steadily moves toward me with a ferocious look on her face. She's desperately trying to talk her way out of this. There's only one more step I need to take to refute her. This is no time to ease up. My account alone won't suffice. I know someone who will. A person with the best memory in the Detective Alliance. That person would be... I'm about to contact the girl in question via D-pad when a voice interrupts. Hello? What are you all quiet for? Your giant witch hunt finally run out of steam? You don't have conclusive evidence to do us all a favor and just... I will share my eyewitness account, the girl announced, glowering at her mortal adversary. Huh? Bookworm? Why are you here? Bookworm wears her usual calm, unaffected aura, having swept away any traces of weakness. Her adoptive father, Mystic Detective, was killed in this very room. Simply entering it must have been unimaginably difficult. Bookworm, are you alright? We don't need to stay in here. Let's talk outside. Don't patronize me. I'm a detective as well. How could I remove myself from the situation when I hold the key to this conundrum? Said the girl, her lips curling into a crooked grin. Oh, so you got the key, do you? Sick. What kind of evidence did you find, huh? I saw you twice today. First at breakfast, and then immediately following the incident, when you carried me to my room. That was when I noticed you were missing one of your pretty matching nails, the one on your right index finger, said the girl in a pointed manner. Oh, you probably just, I don't know, mistook that for something else. Everyone knows how comprehensive my memory is. This is no mistake, the girl replied at once. It could be that Downtown carried Bookworm to her room so that she could find a private space to reapply her missing nail. You can fool a camera, but you can't fool the human eye. There's no talking yourself out of this one, Downtown. Downtown lets out a miserable groan. She isn't defending herself. Now's my chance to recap the events and press her for a confession. The case of the Phantom Killer began the moment we arrived on this island. No, perhaps even before that. From the start, Downtown made her personality known, giving us the impression of the bubbly, touchy-feely fashionista who always made time for her nails. She then casually remarked that the doors on the second floor were badly built and readily provided the doorstop that was vital to her gambit. With everything in place for today, she slipped the ice-filled thermos into her pocket, headed upstairs, and awaited her moment to strike. Once Mystic shared his discovery, she hugged him like usual before stabbing him with her poisoned nail. I'm positive he never saw it coming. Then she swapped the doorstop for ice as she fled the scene. Out of a variety of sizes, she selected one that would melt when the poison took effect. All she had to do then was flush the nail and the evidence would be gone, but her plan hit a snag when she bumped into me on her way to the toilet. This delay led her to prioritize establishing an alibi, thus she appeared in the living room with a missing nail, unwittingly sealing her fate. The culprit of this case was no phantom. Rather, she used her social skills to create a certain conception of herself, camouflaging the murder weapon and her intent to kill. So there you have it, the reality of this horrific case. If you've got any objections downtown, now's the time. There's a long, pregnant pause. I don't know what that means in this context. As if shattering
pause was
silence. Pause is pregnant. Yeah. I'm sure that's a thing that you can say in the English language. I just never heard it before. So I'm not sure why we're saying it now. But we'll go with it. Then, as if shattering the silence. Fine, fine, you got me. I give, dude. Yeah, it's me, the Phantom Killer who murdered Mystic Detective. I'm like super sorry for putting you guys through all this. With her usual carefree attitude, Downtown finally confesses to the crime.